Hello, everybody. I'm David Frangioni.
Zibbity bop.
Zibbity
I
bop.
was just kidding. Start again.
Hello, everybody. I'm David Frangioni.
Zibbity bop.
For another edition of the Modern Drummer Podcast with Ray Luzier.
What's up? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, my man.
Been a while.
It has, for the entire history, I'm holding Ray's stick, which is why I look like a conductor right now as I'm moving. So for the entire history of Ray's, beginnings, finding the drums, David Lee Roth.
I've been playing for 2 weeks now, David.
Joining Korn. All of that is in a podcast, live from Ironshore. So you guys check that out. It's a great podcast. Check it out. Hit the subscribe button below. We need your support so we keep bringing world-class drummers and people.
And me.
Like Ray Luzier to Modern Drummer. So Ray, welcome back. We've covered all the history, but you've been really busy since the last podcast.
The cool thing about this band, this is 16 years deep for me now. They've been around. We're celebrating the big 30th, or we just have been celebrating the big 30th anniversary for them. I mean, everybody knows to be in a band around that long and to have the diehard loyal followers that they have. I mean, the three founding members, Head, Monkey, and Jonathan, they start, them with Fieldy and David back in the day, they started this band on nothing in Bakersfield, California. They didn't know what the heck was going to happen. No one's got a crystal ball. You have no idea what the future's going to be. They all said when we did the first record, we didn't know if there would be a record two and all that. So to come this far and to still be doing music and still be relevant in 2024, 25, it's like, it's amazing to have, just to keep going. I mean, we're lifers. It's in our blood. There's nothing else we want to do. We're all about music and family now. All the partying days, everything's done with everybody, and it's a beautiful thing. So to create new music and to put it out for the people to stay out there and just like them wanting to hear the new music live and the old cuts.
And the tour, when you talk about relevant,
Yep.
I mean, it's massive. I mean, you're selling out 18,000 every night in the U.S. or more, stadiums everywhere, Europe, sold out stadiums.
Yeah.
I was looking at the crowds, and you can't even see the end of the crowd from the stage. So, I mean, that's even much larger than relevant. It's still iconic.
It's so rad to see, fathers and sons with Korn shirts on. And then sometimes you see a grandma and a mother and a daughter with Korn shirts on. There's new generations coming through.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's a beautiful thing because you can never replace live entertainment. I've always said that. Like, you can watch YouTube, you can watch, whatever. A lot of people, they fix their records in the studio. They're pitching vocals, they're quantizing drums. I mean, everybody's guilty of it sometime, but it's like that live one-on-one connection with the audience. You can never, ever, ever replace that. There's an excitement. It's life. It heals. The music heals you. It takes you places. You might be going through a really bad time in your life. You might be going through a beautiful time in your life. The music enhances that. That's what I love about live music, and that'll never, ever go away, so.
Thank God.
Yeah.
And the band is committed to live music. Yeah. You guys really, other than the pandemic, which stopped everybody, Korn is a road band.
Yeah,
we
love it.
You take it to the road. You take your show to the people.
We do, and it's one of those things where, we have, of course, a lot of production and things like that, but I'd like to think that our band could play with one white light bulb on stage. We could totally punk rock it. No playbacks, no nothing. And that's saying a lot because there's a lot of bands that rely on their gimmicks and their gags and their playbacks and all that. That's what I love about being a part of this band. We love what we do, and you can't bullshit the fans. They know. The fans are smart, So when you get out there and you're on the deck, it's like we bring that energy, we bring the attitude, everything that's us, it comes through us, So I love being a part of that,
Thank you for watching and supporting everything Modern Drummer is up to. Hit the subscribe button down below. It means so much to us because we can keep bringing you the best drummers and content all the time. And please check out our shop. We've got Legends books. We've got back issues. We've got swag. Everything the drumming community could want And it's so exciting to have you guys be the best part of it. Once again, thank you, and enjoy the rest of the video. The 24-25 tour for Korn. And we covered this in a rundown, so everybody check out this new rundown with Ray and his kit. And I want to talk about the kit a little bit more because we were talking about the kit while they were line checking and moving screens above our head, and it was a little bit of a rock and roll war zone. But check out that rundown, and we'll get into that in a second. My point to that is that there's no playback. You have this kit, and you have 808 samples, and you have a lot going on, but unlike most touring acts in 24 and 25, you guys don't have any playback.
We decided to go that route in Europe this year. We had a couple of the newer songs, we had playback just for effects, not extra parts or vocals necessarily, but just for there's extra booms and some programming that went on the records. We felt like we should bring that to the stage. So I had the click track going for maybe 3, 4, 5 of the new songs. And of course, the older songs, there's 7 tempos in Blind. I mean, it's like it just pushes and it pulls. There's no way you could ever put that on a click, Whereas some bands, it's okay to do that because that's part of the show. I get it. A lot of my friends are playing in bands that the entire show is based on a click track, and that's okay. That's their thing. That's what they do. But we don't, and it's awesome that we lost all the playback on these past couple.
So
tours.
not even the few songs.
There's interlude playbacks. The tech will hit the button and I'll trigger a pad that'll maybe play a little section of a loop for 4 bars, but we don't have that running the whole time.
Right.
So.
I mean, to me, that's just music. That's playback.
Yeah.
Right. By today's touring definition is that, like you said, there's a click track and everybody's playing the song to pre-recorded elements.
Absolutely.
But you guys have stopped entirely doing that, and I'm not saying one's better or the other. The same as you're saying. Like I'm not. I don't look at it like one's good, one's bad.
Yeah.
I just want to share that because you're not using that, what does that afford you a lot more freedom on stage, right? And what's some of the biggest differences that you've besides the liberation, which is pretty obvious, but what does that look like in Korn?
Well, it's a lot of responsibility on me because obviously I'm the timekeeper of the band. So if I have had too much caffeine, or if I didn't sleep the night before, or if
all of the above, because we're very good friends. So you kind of just described a day in the life. So what happens then?
So that's a whole thing where when you have that click track, the machine doesn't lie. So it's obviously going to be dead on. Whether we're human, our hearts are all beating at different rates. And that's the beautiful thing about being a human. We're not perfect. And I love the imperfections of a live show. I love when there's mess ups and when there's botched chords and a missed vocal and the drummer misfires a snare, hits himself in the head. Like
it's a moment. Perfectly imperfect.
Yeah. And and that's the beauty of being, again, with that live one-on-one interaction, So there's times where I'll be honest, in Europe, man, that we did Hellfest in front of 80,000 people. And when that curtain drops and you see that roar and you feel that energy, it's not even nerves. It's like this adrenaline rush takes over you that just nothing can ever touch that feeling, But then I'm driving the boat.
So you have to really lock into what is the tempo.
Yeah, I have to say, like, okay, we're excited, but the song still has to groove hard.
Right,
still has to. You have to make people dance. Right. That's my job.
And you don't want to do your 90-minute set in 60.
No. And I've watched some YouTube clips from like, dang, that was quick. I think I had like 3 espressos before I hit the deck that night. So you got, it's up to you as the guy back there. It's our job to steer this chaos that's going on, So, and my guys are really good about what they do, and they're very dialed in. What they do with their fingers is magical on guitars. Like they don't sound like anyone else out there. That's why everyone always says, "Are you new metal? Are you metal? Are you hard rock?" I'm like, we're just Korn. I mean, it's its own sound. It's its own sound. It's its own thing. That what comes out of those guys' fingers and how Jonathan sounds is so unique. It took me many years just to get inside this band. Because as you know, I was a session guy and I played in a million bands in LA, and I'm pretty much a chameleon. I can adapt to anyone. Like I can fit into this band decent. I can fit into that band. You don't just join a band like Korn. It's like I got in. I was like, oh man, we dove into a sold out tour in 2008, and I was just filling in at the time, and I was okay with that. But getting my head around everything and wow, they're tuned down so low, and man, does it sound weird back here, and the thunder of this and the way, it was just a whole different thing. It took me a couple years, you know.
Sure.
When I became a member in '09, that's when it took the shape of like the new groove has come into this band now, because obviously, you know, if you replace the drummer, the whole band dynamic changes. Yeah. It doesn't matter how good, how bad, it's a different person. Your personality comes through your instrument. It comes through your hands. Yes. So that's huge, right? And obviously a singer is way bigger of a difference than a drummer. I feel for the, you know, Journey and Alice in Chains and all the bands, now Linkin Park, all the bands that are switch singers, that's way more on you than a drummer. Yeah. Right. So, but the drummer dynamic does change a lot. And I got a lot of flack because, you know, obviously David's a great drummer. He did what he did to start this band, the 5 core original members of this band. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them, obviously. You know, when you join a band like this, to bring your own personality into it, that's one thing Jonathan said, be yourself and feel it. That's all he ever told me. It wasn't like, play exactly like the old drummer, play like this, you know. And that's big. That's a huge thing, because I have been in positions where they're like, play like the last guy. No one cares about you. That, you know.
Well, it's a lot of trust and belief in your sound.
Yeah.
And that's a great, you know, that speaks a lot to the kind of chemistry that you guys have.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
Because everybody trusts each other and likes each other's playing.
Absolutely.
As you talk about the differences and the nuances, that can work brilliantly in one setting and not so much in another, but in this case, it works brilliantly. Well, when we talk about the tempos and you're playing these stadium shows with an ocean of people, do you use a metronome or Mark, your tech, do you have some reference to like get to really look at the tempo?
I used to, and now it's like, it's funny because every time I do, Jonathan knows it and he doesn't like it. He's like, man, are you watching a click or something? I'm like, yeah, I did, just for reference. He goes, just feel it, brother, feel it. That's his whole thing. Okay. It's all vibe and feel and emotion and groove, and that's all we're trying to portray on stage. Wow. And
it's almost like you guys are one entity.
Yeah.
Like for him to have that much sensitivity to feeling the crowd and feeling your response to the crowd and knowing if it's organic or if it's metronomic. Oh my God. That's like very deep level connection.
He does it's hilarious now because Jonathan, we've been together so long now, and we know each other musically backwards. I mean, it's like he literally plays to my drums. My drums are through his monitors. He just hears the guitars out of the side fills. And so he plays to me. If I make one little thing, or he's a drummer first and foremost, so he knows everything I do. He does the Prince thing where he'll turn around to me. You know, Prince used to find his band. I don't know if you knew that, but he used to turn around.
Yeah,
and he'd do that like this.
I did know that,
like 50 or 500 or whatever. So if I make some kind of mistake, John turn around and I go, you heard that? How did you hear that? It was a little whatever, you know. So that's how tight we are on stage. It's a beautiful thing.
Wow. Right. Well, let's talk about what's the big difference between Jonathan and David Lee Roth as working for two iconic lead singers.
Huge. I mean, I got to work with some really great musicians in my life. Those are two of the biggest frontmen of all time, obviously. You know, David Lee Roth, I think for back in the day, no one really touched him for what he did as an entertainer, as a performer. He would grab everyone from the peanut heaven seat to the front row, and you left there exhausted going, wow, what just happened? Because I just got
he kind of invented that.
He did.
There really wasn't a showman like him before him. And there's kind of like before David Lee Roth and now David Lee Roth on.
He never claimed to be the best singer out there. He just was an entertainer. He was a performer, and that's what it was. And whereas Jonathan, it just, there was a time on the plane, it was really funny because my tour manager texted me. I was in LAX getting a coffee, and they were already on the plane. And the tour manager texted me. He goes, I think your old boss is sitting behind me and Jonathan. And I go, which one's my old boss? And he goes, David Lee Roth. I go, no way. So I go on the plane, and sure enough, Jonathan Davis is here. David Lee Roth's in first class, obviously. And I go, this is the weirdest moment ever because
I love it.
Now, and I go, and Dave had a look on his face like he didn't want to be bothered. And I go, hey, Dave. And he kind of looked at me and he goes, Ray, what are you doing here? Are you playing a gig? No, you're flying the plane. Of course you're here. And he just goes into this whole thing. And I'm like, Dave, this is really bizarre, but Jonathan Davis, meet David Lee Roth, Jonathan Davis. And John's like, hey, man, what's up? And he's like, pleasure, my friend. And it was just a cool moment because these are the some of the biggest frontmen of all time,
Yeah.
sitting side by side. Dave was doing a Van Halen gig at that time. This is how far back when Van Halen got back together.
Oh, wow.
And,
Okay, gotcha.
But how bizarre. I mean, it was just the coolest time. So there's no comparison. I mean, they do what they do. You know what I mean? The singer, the attitude, everything that Jonathan brings to this band, he saved so many lives out there. Fans come up and they're so deeply emotionally attached to Jonathan and his lyrical content and what he's saying
Totally
about.
different approach to the music,
Totally different approach. It's
obviously.
a totally different animal.
And it comes through in playing for
Yeah,
them, right? Because
yeah.
one is much more circus show,
Yeah.
entertainment at all costs,
Yeah.
and the other is almost spiritual.
It is, yeah. It's a really deep thing. I see fans in the crowd nightly bawling their eyes out, and it happily or sadly, whatever. But Dave's more about like, let's put our toes in the sand and get a drink and let's do this.
Right,
Let's
it's party
have
time.
a great time. Club
Right.
Dave all the way.
Right.
And so I learned a lot through Dave. He taught me to be an entertainer. You know, he's always like, Luzier, don't sit back there like you're waiting for the bus. Give the people a show. They paid to see you too. So that always resonated. Sorry, I got to do the whole. It's hard.
It's great.
It's hard
It's
to quote him and not talk like that.
Oh yeah, no. And I've met him as well and heard him enough that it's a great impression, by the way.
What are you talking about? No. So like Dave taught me like, and that's true. Like you're just a drummer, but nothing worse. And I'm not slamming anyone's technique or approach to the drums. You can do whatever you want. If that's how you play, that's how you play. But the people back there just like almost yawning and just looking around, and I'm like, what? Give me a show. I'm there to see a live show. You look like you're like, waiting for the bus. So that always resonated with me. So now, even to this day, I think about if I was in the 10th row center, what would I want to see on stage? Would I want to see the drummer back there going, or do I want to see somebody getting into it, feeling it,
And interacting.
making me feel
You're
it?
looking at
Yeah.
the crowd.
Yeah.
You're very. It's not just the guys out front.
Absolutely.
And
Because we're fans of music. We're not just Joe rock stars on stage. We love it too. I mean, you see me at a festival, I'm there at 2 p.m. on stage, freaking looking at the opening bands. I love it. I'm a fan.
you still practicing?
Practice what?
Your
Drums?
David Lee Roth impression. What else?
David Lee Roth. I'm really good at that. I need to get on my drums a little more. My paradiddle patafla-flas. I do practice. I have a brand new studio in my house in Nashville, Tennessee.
And tell us
South
about it,
Nashville.
because this studio.
Can't tell you nothing, David. It's a secret.
This studio is a studio that other artists besides your own projects will be
Yes.
renting, using. So we'll be hearing it out there on songs, music, and it's been like a year or two in the making, right?
Yeah, about two and a half of planning, and we've been building for about 15 months, a new house and studio. So, I can't.
And it's a Frangioni design, of course.
Is it? And cut. No, but
That was a great podcast while it
you
lasted.
weren't around when we were building it there, Frangiolio. So, it's I've had a guy named Sean Neff designed it.
Okay.
And he's a great Nashville studio designer. He's amazing at what he does. He designs many country stars, many big dudes out there. He's an engineer, and him, along with my engineer, Scott Bush, we had just a lot of great ideas how to do this. So it's not a giant studio. I wanted to build the most badass drum room in South Nash that I could.
You had a vision
Yes.
of this is because every studio is focused on something, whether
Yeah.
it's a mix room, an overdub room, an editing room, etc. Great for guitars, but you were focused, as it's understandably, of course, that it would be a drum room. But it turns out that that's the most difficult studio to build.
And I had no idea, as big as Nashville is and as how many musicians are out there, there's incredible musicians out there. But a lot of studios don't have great drum rooms. And the ones that do they're not affordable for a lot of the local bands or up and coming artists or even signed acts. Right. So my vision was I want to have the best sounding drum room I can. And I've already had some producer buddies of mine going, when's that done? I need to cut this guy. I need to cut That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to get there. It's out in the country. We bought 11 acres. It's like you can literally, we're building this big gazebo patio thing where you can go out and get away from all the ruckus of the city. You're not going to hear one car, not one siren or nothing. If you need to get inspiration, take your acoustic guitar, go in the field. I mean, literally.
And there's an Airbnb
yeah,
walking distance
attached
from the studio.
Yes, 150 feet. If you don't have a place to stay and you're from out of town,
Yeah.
we have an 1,800 square foot, 3-bedroom house on an acre and a half with a fire pit, trampoline, go-karts, everything to go chill at. So go to take a nap in between your sessions. So I'm really excited about it. It's a long time in the making. And
you picked all the equipment around getting the best signal path for drums you possibly can.
Yes, the internal wiring. We have everything wired. We have Cat 5 going through for video. If you want to do a live stream of your band, we have it all wired and ready to go. So
nice.
I'm super excited about that. It's taking shape right now. And
how's it sounding now that the room's done?
Really
and
not
you've been able
that
to
good,
hear
David.
the drums. No, so let's start over.
all that talking, I'm like, it just doesn't sound that
let's
good.
just
but
tear
it
the
looks
house down
amazing.
and start over.
It sounds phenomenal, man. I'm telling you, I had Orlex sponsor Orlex soundproofing bafflings. They have a whole new level, new line of stuff that came out, professional line.
So they did all the acoustic treatments.
They did all the acoustic treatments. It sounds amazing. We have 7 layers of things going around the house. So there's literally, frame, rock wool, spray foam on the outside, soundproofing, another layer of rock wool, another frame, another layer of drywall. So there's all these, it's very soundproof. I love light, so I have skylights in it. I have a ginormous picture window in front. We're going to have a website and everything set up so you can see it. But when you're playing drums, you literally look out into a field. It's literally, or if you want to see airplanes or it's storming, you can look up and see the storm.
Amazing.
A lot of musicians love dungeons. They love to walk into they don't want to know if it's noon or midnight.
Right.
Like just give me darkness. And
right.
I'm the opposite. I'm a weirdo. I'll cut drums at 9 a.m. with the sun blaring in there. I love it. I love the energy. I love the feel of it. And so, but obviously we're going to have blackout features. If you want a dungeon,
right.
You hit a button and everything blacks out.
Right.
So,
It'll be the traditional no sense of daylight studio.
yeah.
Or you can have what I think it's inspiring
Yeah.
to have the time of day
change I think
and
so.
feel that.
Yeah. Everybody's different though, and we have the light system going on too, where, because I've had clients come in before when I was doing sessions and they're like, we need everything red, blood red, everything. Like, okay, that's weird, but okay. So we have a thing we have an app, of course.
LEDs.
If you want green, the whole, whatever mood you're in, if you want candles, you want all that stuff. So yeah, I'm excited.
And you're running Pro Tools.
Pro
so
Tools,
you can record everything industry standard,
Pro
send
Tools.
it out.
Absolutely.
Well, Ray Luzier, thank you for taking the time. Everybody check out Ray on tour and check out Ray's new studio just south of Nashville, Tennessee. And it's a great drum room and a lot of great music's coming through there. It's going to continue to come through there. My friend, Bibbly Bop.
Bozy, bozy, bop, titty bop. Good talking to you there, Frangioni, oh, yo.
I'm David Frangioni. Not David Lee Roth. And for the Modern Drummer Podcast, we'll see you guys again soon. Thank you, Ray Luzier.
Thank you. The crowd goes mild.